Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here with so many of you. Um, my name is Koen and Hartogh, born and raised in the Netherlands, but I've lived in Papua New Guinea for the last 17 years. Um, I know that we are a very diverse group, different countries, different languages, different cultures, different religions. Um, I myself am a Christian. You are might be a Muslim or a Buddhist. But the wonderful thing of us being so different and in this room is that we share that same passion for education. And I'm really honored to be here with you so that I can at least share what we've been doing with education in Papua New Guinea over the last 10 years. We're talking about digital innovations. And that's kind of my passion. And we're going to look at a lot of things that we've been working on. When I say we, I mean me and my team. We're a nice multilingual and multicultural team. 3 friends from Papua New Guinea, an English high school teacher from America, and then 2 Dutch. All right, I want to share a fun fact about Papua New Guinea with you. Papua New Guinea has a world record, and maybe not all of you know, but Papua New Guinea has a world record for biggest butterfly. And that butterfly is scary big, but it's also amazingly beautiful. Now, Papua New Guinea, of course, has another very known first, and maybe you might know, but Papua New Guinea is the world record holder of the amount of languages in the world. More than 830, not all of them as vitally alive as we would want, but 830 distinct languages in just the country of Papua New Guinea. Now you might say that is beautiful culturally speaking, but it also is a huge challenge for education. So when we look at the latest UNESCO report about technology in education, the question that, of course, was put, can technology solve the most important challenges in education? Some of us techies think that education and technology can solve all the problems of the world. But it's kind of fair to look at it a little bit critically. So here's a graph that shows that from 2018 till 2021, at least 80% of the poorest 20% of the people in India, Cambodia, and Pakistan owned a mobile phone. Now, that is Asia. I live in Papua New Guinea. And when I go to the town areas, yes, there's lots of mobile phones. We also have provinces where everyone is living in rural villages. And you might actually have a hard time finding any mobile phone. Okay? So we're going to talk about the Bloom Library, the Bloom Editor and its reading app, and the fact that the library currently already has over 16,000 books, and not in 540 languages, but in 640 languages, because that library is growing rapidly. All right, so the languages that are currently in the Bloom Library are scattered all around in terms of speakers of those languages, which is really amazing. And another criticism from the report, which I think is very fair, is technology offers an education lifeline for millions, but it excludes many more. So as a team, we try to really work against that. Here's an example. We did a Bloom book production workshop with really deaf people and really blind people. This group then worked with us and produced books for their own groups. And so the Bloom software that we're going to talk about a lot was simple enough for them to write stories, and then with the help of my team, we produced beautiful books with sign language, beautiful stories that were now really their stories. So 20 new titles were created with them. So when I started Education for Life 10 years ago, this was basically the one thing that I really struggled with, and that was walking into a rural community and then walking into the elementary school. The elementary school would be very, very different than the primary school. The primary school would only be there in a sort of larger village where the little hamlets all around would have their own elementary school, all elementary schools, but they would look like this. And there is no paper, no books, but that's where we built the foundation of education. So when Save the Children found out that 97% of those elementary schools in PNG have no library whatsoever, we kind of wanted to find a solution. So why not bring books? Well, books are first of all expensive, but then secondly, many of those books that you would find would not be in their languages. So in 2018, Save the Children started the RISE program. It ended up being a 5-year project, and SIL and Kalan Services were 2 of their consortium partners. The first task that we as SIL got was design a technical setup to bring an e-library to schools. When I say let's bring an e-library to schools, we also thought about this is Papua New Guinea. We only have mobile internet, which is very expensive. And then I read this one. It would cost $1 billion per day to maintain connectivity for education in poor countries. And that's why we said, you know what, we really don't want an online solution. It's fine if it works online, but it shouldn't be online based. So we dreamed up something else, and you actually see it here in action in one of those Save the Children settings. What we brought was one Bluetooth speaker, one phone, one solar panel, and one projector. In case you're interested in the projector, I brought it with me. This projector has a battery built in, and so I can just turn it on and then run it on its own little battery, and then basically I can do whatever I want in my classroom. And so you now see it on the ceiling. I'll probably show it somewhere here, and then you can see that even in this well-lit room, we can use this quite well. So Save the Children installed 30 of these projectors in 30 schools. And we're talking remote schools, and so we needed those solar panels. So what's so distinctive about this approach? Well, in contradiction to a typical setup with tablets, this is the most minimalistic approach. We have one solar panel, and we put all the content on a phone. Then that means that we can use those books offline, but if we want to and we want to get some more books, we can also do that online. There are no proprietary parts. You don't have to buy this from us. SIL is not a business. You can buy it from us. And that whole kit would cost you around $1,500. So that is then a typical setup for a whole school. So what we saw was that most schools would get one of their classrooms set up with the projector, the solar panel on the roof, and then grade 1 would come in, grade 1 would leave, and grade 2 would come in. Save the Children did this in a study that lasted 3 years. Baseline, midline, endline survey, and then only to find out that after 3 years of working with this projector kit, at the end of the study, 27 of the 30 projectors were still in use each and every day. Now that was so impressive that Save the Children said, you know what, this research is over, we're going to buy another 41 kits and we're going to bring it to another province, which was really something for us, but also very encouraging. So currently implemented in 71 schools by Save the Children. At this moment, we've already sold it to more than 150 schools. And this year we'll be shipping them to 12 different countries because there's a lot of desire for this. Now let's see a little bit of this in action. just the joy on their faces is what's really driving us as a team. And so it's really fun to see people come back with those stories of how they have used our projector kit. We've not only sold them to schools, but also to health organizations that do health awareness with these things in the village. So it's lots of fun. So we talked about the design of a technical setup, but then the second request that we got from Save the Children was, can you please use software that is simple enough so that elementary school teachers can actually create more books on their own? Well, that was a challenge because what I had designed before that wasn't cutting it. So we went to Bloom. For those of you that are not familiar with Bloom, Bloom is a free software package which was producing books for a lot of years. Lots of NGO and development organizations were excited about it, but for the longest time it was only doing paper books. And then, because of the RISE project from Save the Children, the Bloom Reader was designed. And so that's an Android app which you can download on Google Play for free. And then you can start exploring if there are actually books in the languages that you are interested in. So the second thing was, okay, now you have a Bloom Reader, which is similar to a Kindle reader. You only have a reader. You don't have content. Where do you start? So luckily, there are quite a few really impressive book publishers in the world that share their books Creative Commons. So Africa Storybook, Book Dash, Asia Foundation, Pratham, and Storyweaver are just a few, but they had at least beautiful books that we could just morph into a Bloom standard and add audio to. Now, let's just have a look at some of these books.
The doctor smiles at Bora. Is this your monkey? Can we examine him too? She asks. They took an empty watermelon and stuffed Foxy Joxy into it. Then they played a game of football with it.
Did you know the eastern long-beaked echidna is the largest echidna in the world? Its body length is 60 to 100 centimeters. To defend itself, it will use its spines and roll up like a ball.
Cat and dog walked to the goose. They asked the goose, "Is this your egg?" Pussy and a dog walk about igolong bi pela pato. To pela he asked him, "This pela I make you belong you?"
Gitir keketik kena mana pare e boho kan leta sistemat. Ingo no ke wotor hoe ibiru muhiate naum.
The little boy got a very naughty idea. He built a small fire on the ground behind his house.
Pistaliklik mangi kising one pla hambak tinting. And walking one pla liklik fire long ground backside long house blongen.
Drag the correct animal into the speech bubble. Which animal did Goose tell Cat and Dog to ask next? Yay!
Now, when you bring books like this to classrooms in a typical bush setting, you do get a lot of yays because kids really want to interact with this kind of material, especially when they've been paying attention so well to the content of the book. Now, let's quickly run through some analytics. Save the Children did the RISE program, and they reached a lot of children, users. They also had a lot of reads, 277,000 reads, and most of that, if not almost all, was in the Bloom Reader, which is offline, and only almost less than 7,000 was on the web. Then We have the Ministry of Education in Guatemala, who also used Bloom to bring books to their students. 500,000 books are read up till now, 60,000 on the web, and then most of them offline. Then here's the Ministry of Education in Kyrgyzstan, and they already, this is a pretty new project, they already have 523,000 books read, but look at that, 519,000 are on the web. So here's the thing, right? You cannot say that all these books should be offline because that's better. No, it really depends on the context. So the beautiful thing about Bloom is that you can choose what will work in your setting. If you want to distribute an offline library on a simple SD card, then you can do that. Just this year, we have sold 10,000 of these little SD card libraries in just Papua New Guinea and Vanuatu. Thanks to Save the Children, who worked together with the ministries, allowed for all the teachers in Vanuatu to get one of these cards and then receive a 300-book multilingual library. All right, a little bit of info about the Bloom Library. 16,000 free titles in over 600 languages. bloomlibrary.org. If you use Bloom and you just created your book to have it printed, well, you can use that same book and now make an MP4, which is a video, and then post your book as a video on Facebook. And then, guess what? Even in a country like Papua New Guinea, you get a lot of excitement from teachers who are on Facebook and they find their books in their own language. Question, how sustainable is all that? Well, we thought about it, and then our local member of parliament came and he says, you know what, I like that solution so much. Can I buy 15 of your projectors? And then we said, yes. And can we then train your teachers? And so that's what we did. We trained them how to connect a solar panel, how to connect a phone to the projector, all of that. And after 2 days of training only, they all went to their villages with one solar panel and a projector. All right, a very short thing about gamification. As soon as we found out that the books that had activities in them were read 10,000 times versus our standard books a couple hundred, we kind of knew that interactivity was a big thing. Teachers, students, they want to do something with these books. Okay, so the beautiful thing about Bloom is it has some of these activities built in, and they are just so simple to translate. We wanted a little bit more. We really wanted interactive spelling games, unscramble the sentence, and so we made templates that allow you to do that and then import it into the same Bloom software. Templates like this, or even pre-literacy, if you can dream it up, you can make it. If we have an English version, you create your vernacular version. All right, now a little bit about innovations in just creating content. You've all run into this one, right? You wanted to create a book and then you see that horrible symbol. It's called copyright, all rights reserved. All right? That basically blocks access to that one. So, a nice way to overcome that problem, maybe Wikipedia, maybe Pexels, or even Pixabay might solve the issue for you. Or just go and find some beautiful local illustrators. We have found many of them and we've created beautiful books with them. But today there is AI. And you might say, well, you know what? I find AI scary. There's a lot of things about AI that we find scary. That doesn't mean that we should try to avoid it altogether. All right, when I just type in erupting volcano on an island seen from the ocean, there's nothing scary about that one. And then when the AI image editor creates an image like this, then I have a free image without a copyright. I can create my book about volcanoes with everyone that I want. And I think that's a big deal. When I type in comic image of a Papua boy standing in the jungle, and it creates something beautiful as this, I am impressed. I mean, it's only this week that DALL-E 3 came out, and so Yes, it is a huge improvement from what we had just last week. So this is what makes us as a team of book creators excited. And then there's this one. AI produced this image for me, and it's like, yeah, but his hands are cut off. And first of all, I wasn't looking for an illustration that was square. I wanted a landscape one. Well, guess what? Go to clipdrop.co, and there is AI again trying to do some magic for us. Okay? So, yes, AI has a lot of negative connotations to it. Don't be scared completely. There are really fun things that you can do with it. Okay, so that's it. If you are interested in Bloom, if you would like training, there is online training, beautiful interactive tutorials on mytalkingbooks.org. If you're interested in the Solar Projector Kit, I already told you we're now shipping all across the world thanks to our SIL colleagues. And if you want to write to me, educationforlife@sil.org. Thank you very much for your attention.